everyone, welcome to yet another video on Balaji Aviation with me Praveen. And today in this particular aviation module segment, we will talk about dangerous goods. Well, what are dangerous goods all about, and also understanding the different kind of protocols and prohibitions by the aircraft to carry or not to carry dangerous goods. Let's see the agenda today to understand the definition of dangerous goods. We also cover Director General Civil Aviation requirement as regard to dangerous goods. We also talk about certain classifications of dangerous goods. We will cover dangerous goods transportation, how it can be transported to the aircraft. We also talk about certain DGR do's and don'ts that aircrafts need to follow. Well friends, if you have to give a definition of what is all about dangerous goods are any substance or any articles which are capable of posing a significant risk to health, safety and property when transported by air. Well friends, let's not forget transporting passengers from one destination to another is full of risk. There can be certain emergencies within the aircraft. They can also issue or certain things which are indicated with the help of dangerous goods. So there are certain things which have to be carried and which should not be ever carried with regards to dangerous goods. So hence today we will talk about the certain articles and substances which should not be carried on board to the aircraft. Hello friends, let's talk about certain examples of dangerous goods. These are the things that you can never ever carry on your carry-on baggage and hand baggage which you taken with you inside the cabin. And let's take a look at them. You cannot carry on this particular pesticide inside the cabin, gas cylinders, aerosol, phenol, bleach, which cannot be carried inside the carry-on baggage. So now let's talk about thinner, which is used by the ladies to remove the nail polishes. These are the paints, lighters, as well as the matchsticks also you are not supposed to carry with your hand baggage. So all these such things you can carry on your check-in baggage which goes to cabin of the hold. So why it is dangerous to carry? Looking at why exactly it is dangerous to carry all these dangerous goods. So there are certain reasons why airlines operations don't allow passengers to carry all these dangerous goods. The reason being, it can start a fire. Small trigger leads to fire. It can help also spreading a fire. It can cause injuries, all the contact as well as the radiations. Well, there are certain materials, they are small spark, they can really have a tremendous radiation qualities, and also we can put project pieces injuries a person and damage the aircraft. There are certain dangerous goods, it can damage the part of the aircraft. It can release a toxic vapor which can cause harm of these toxic vapors which is inhaled by the passengers and lose their consciousness. So it can react with aircraft material, and some of the part of the aircraft are made up of very sensitive materials, and dangerous goods can really lead to a spark of fire on these particular material of the aircraft. So friends, let's talk about understand who decide DGR and who decide whether these goods are to be carried or not to be carried. Well, there is a particular organization named ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, that is the body which governs whether these dangerous goods can be carried. Now ICAO every 2 years published deals with technical and instructions for the safety transportation of dangerous goods by the air. So every 2 years there is a recommendation or there is a revision on these particular dangerous goods. So the classification of dangerous goods are very huge. There are certain categories. It has explosive, it has toxic gases, it has radioactive material, it has oxidizing agents, it has solid and liquid. So certain things which can really instigate fire. So most and generally the classification of dangerous good is done under category 9. Now we will look at some of these in details. Well, what are explosive substances? Can be liquid or a solid form. A solid or a liquid substance or a mixture which is itself capable by chemical reactions of a produced gas at a temperature and the pressure, and in such a speed that cause damage to the surrounding. Well, explosive, if they are carried inside the aircraft or a cargo, lead a lot of gases which could really harmful to the passengers as well as to the entire aircraft. Look at the flammable gases. Now they are the marking of logo for the flammable gases as well as the explosive, which we'll see in another slide. Now whenever there is a particular product which has to be carried or into the cargo or a check-in baggage, they have to have this kind of a marking and labels. So the flammable gas is the marking as a gas substance which at 50 degrees Celsius has a vapor pressure greater than the 300 kPa. Now it is completely gaseous as 20 degrees Celsius at a standard pressure of 1013 kPa. And so friends, these are the gases which can really instigate fire, and they are very easily flammable, hence they must be avoided by the passenger. So friends, let's talk about certain prohibitions. So some product or dangerous goods have very strict regulations. Certain times they are not such restrict regulations in terms of getting them on board to the aircraft. Some dangerous goods are identified very too dangerous, and they are not supposed to carried in the aircraft under any circumstances. They are completely forbidden. Whereas there are some other which are forbidden under any normal circumstances, but they may be carried with specific circumstances getting approved from the state of government where it has to be uplifted. So for example, if a dangerous goods need to be carried from Chandigarh to Mumbai, so the government of Chandigarh has to give a written declaration form that they are allowing them to carry this particular dangerous goods. Well friends, there are certain dangerous goods which are restricted by the carry zone only and only on a cargo aircraft, not on a commercial aircraft. The most can be safely carried on passengers flight provided certain requirements are not met. So there are certain requirements which the airlines remove from time to time in terms of what is the amount which can be carried for these particular dangerous goods. Now friends, talking about packaging. Now this is again a shipment on a particular airline's operations responsibility to make sure that dangerous goods is packed in a particular nice manner, and the manner that is absolutely no leakage of any kind of a material which is being carried. So it has to have sender receiver or a marking who is basically sender and who is basically sending it from which place, and the name of the person and the responsibility of the shipment, and what is the weight of that particular packaging. But so there are packaging instructions which every airlines operators need to adhere to strictly. It should not have label on what basically carries inside that particular product. So if there is a flammable gas, it has to have a logo of flammable. If it is explosive or a toxic material or a toxic vaporization, it has to have a logo for that particular same. So this kind of a packaging every airlines need to adhere to whenever they are carrying kind of a material. So they need to put a logo on such packaging, and that can only travel by not in hand baggage. It can be along with the check-in baggage. So friends, let's talking about certain marking and labels. As I mentioned earlier before that every airlines operators need to adhere that they have, if they are carrying dangerous goods kind of a material, they have to have such logo or a marking available on that particular product. So if it is flammable, explosive, toxic substance, any kind of a radioactive substance, it has to have that particular logo which is marked generally by red, because red is the signal of danger. So there are labels, certain labels marking for you, and this has to be strictly adhered by the airlines operator. Now talking about declaration form. No airlines will allow any passengers to carry these dangerous goods if it is not accompanied by the declaration form. Declaration form is kind of a MOU which passengers read and sign for that aircraft that he is not carrying any kind of a product or a substance inside that particular package which can harmful for the passenger as well as to the aircraft. So this is the declaration form, it has certain criteria, certain information which passenger need to read and sign at the end. So he is not going to responsible for, rather he will take that particular responsibility for that particular package. So this is again a very mandatory requirement for the passenger who is traveling with any kind of such substance. So now coming to the notification and pilot in command. Friends, there is a product or a dangerous good which is being carried inside the aircraft, even if it is checked in or with the hand baggage or coming from the cargo. So the pilot has to be informed about it. The captain need to have that information that there is a dangerous good which is being carried inside the cargo, which can lead any kind of emergency should be leakage of that particular product. So being carried, so the captain has the full authority and full knowledge that what is going inside that particular package, and the declaration form also need to be shared with the pilot in command. Let's talk about incident happens. Well, there are a lot of incident which might happens with the flight attendant, wherein they have to heard something about happening, passenger discussing about they are carrying dangerous goods. So well, in such incident might lead to a great mishappening if the flight attendant doesn't report or doesn't speak about it. So the incident like this keep happening, and it is important to report your immediate supervisor or immediate manager that such incidents, such cases. So all these crew members and they have to be very vigilant and observer while handling these kind of passengers. So let's friend talk about undergoing DGR training. A dangerous good training is something which is very mandatory requirement for each and every airline's flight attendant. So this is the training which happens for 5 days. Training is used by the flight attendant so that they can understand they need to be undergone this training. So after this training they are giving such certificate which shows to the airlines that they are certified, and the mandatory training requirement for all the flight attendants need to be undergone, which is the supervised by the airlines operators. So friends, how you recognize the dangerous goods? So each class has a hazard symbol known as a plug card or a label that represent the danger of that particular class. So if it is a really high flammable, it will be having a particular label or a particular choice. The label must be attached to the smaller container, example drum, boxes, bottle, cylinder. So they are smaller substance, small articles, and the label can be attached to them. For the bigger articles or a substance, plug card must be attached to the larger container. So well friends, that brings us to the conclusion of this particular dangerous good. I hope you really understand and how important that is training for the ground staff, for a flight steward or the airport employee.